Hi, I'm Grady Collane in the CapeCod.com News Center, and welcome to Sunday Journal. I'm joined today by two special guests from the Cape Cod Blue Economy Foundation. Do you mind just introducing yourselves for our listeners?
I'm Katy Acheson, Economic Development Director at the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce and for the Blue Economy Foundation.
My name is Yoana Dokleva, and I'm interning at the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, and I go to Cape Cod Academy.
All right, awesome. Thank you both for joining me for this conversation today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So, just starting with you, Katy, we wanted to learn a little bit more about the Blue Economy Initiative, essentially, kind of like what that is for people who aren't plugged in. Just a quick overview.
Great. Yeah. So the Cape Cod Chamber and the Cape Cod Blue Economy Foundation are sister organizations. The Blue Economy Foundation is focused on promoting economic growth through businesses related to water. That's where the blue part comes in. So all businesses on Cape Cod that are reliant or do best because of the water that's around us, and also with a focus on sustainability, both financially and with our environment and climate.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, as part of that as well, we are coming hot off the heels of a event that actually took place at the Cape Cod Community College that I'm an alumni, hello, as well. And I wanted to just ask a little bit more about kind of how that event went, engaging with the youth, some people from who are high schoolers, and I specifically want to talk with you, Yoana, because you were there. So, do you mind telling us a little bit more about how is this kind of starting to play into your education essentially? What was that event like? Some highlights essentially of what you took away from it.
Yeah. Well, I went there with my class for a school trip, but I also got to go and meet all the different people that have to do with the blue economy. And I'm going to be going to Northeastern next year, majoring in political science. So I think it definitely was a good experience to kind of get into meeting new people and making those connections.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, congratulations as well. Hope it's going to be a fantastic time for you. I know it can be stressful trying to pick where you're going to be going for your college experience, but that's awesome. So, what are some of the things that kind of enticed you to want to seek that out for your education? Why you want to major in political science?
I think I've always just had I've always been an opinionated person, and I've always loved debating and all that kind of stuff. Not just kind of throwing ideas back and forth. It's always been my thing, I think.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So, I mean, as well, we are seeing a lot of debate conversations surrounding with political science as of late, especially. And I mean, kind of, how does it feel with living on Cape Cod? We've been seeing a lot in recent times about kind of how poor the water quality can be across the Cape. I believe the Association of Preserve Cape Cod just released their annual State of the Waters report, kind of talking about how kind of declined it's been over in recent years. Had that being kind of going on during your high school experience, did that kind of shape some of the ways that you've been thinking about this topic going forward with just some of the conversations with the Cape's water quality?
Definitely. Well, I've grown up on Cape Cod, and it's always been part of the conversation, and especially at school, it's something that we talked about really often, and obviously, wanting to preserve that how it is. So it's been something that's important to me.
Nice, that's awesome. So as well, do you mind talking a little bit more about? I mean, we talk about the blue economy. For a lot of people, I think that's kind of either a strange thing to think about because, of course, the Cape economy is already blue. So much people probably take it for granted. But between tourism, fishing, it's kind of a wide range that it covers. But do you mind talking a little bit more about some of the initiatives and ways you guys have been trying to support it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think starting with Waterworks as being probably the most successful and sort of signature event that the foundation has held since its inception in 2017. Waterworks it's a career day fair. I call it an exploration because kind of like Yoana was explaining, it's putting you out there meeting tons of people. They're all businesses that are in some way connected to blue, to water. So we had some of our offshore wind partners there. We had Cape Cod bird watchers. We had whale watchers. We had some towns there, some folks from National Guard, all of these organizations, WHOI, obviously, NOAA, so some big organizations too that can be a little bit intimidating to try to get to know what they do, to kind of get to understand what kind of people work there. And so we built this event to bring young people together with all of these opportunities that exist on Cape Cod. Because when I was growing up on Cape Cod, I didn't know that I could learn to fly a plane and go spot whales. No one told me I could do that. So I get to be the person that gets to tell people that you can do that, which is really, really interesting and cool. There's not just one path, right? And for the folks that were at the event from the schools, some of them are like Yoana, they're ready to go to school. They've got a path set in front of them. Others might not know which way is up right now and don't know what they want to do, like I was at her age, right? So Yoana, you're like way ahead of us. But I'm sure you had some classmates that were feeling inspired or realized that there was something else that they could potentially do with what they're already interested in. And heck, blue economy policy, when you're done with your degree, you come back, you start, okay, she'll be back.
She can already see the opportunities growing on Cape Cod in terms of 10 years from now, when she can just come back and dominate the conversation surrounding septic systems and wastewater and everything else in between.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I will have to admit, this is the last time I'll be on Sunday Journal. Now that I know I too could fly a plane spotting whales. I didn't realize that was an option.
Yeah.
But no, in all seriousness, where is so it's not quite like a job fair.
Right.
It is different. So can you talk a little bit more about kind of what is like the more focus for the guests that are there talking about these industries?
Yeah, I think for the students in particular, that exploration, that understanding the possibilities, for the exhibitors, for the businesses and the organizations that attend, I gotta say, someone brought a resume. So yeah, I know. So I know at least one business got a resume. But there are an incredible amount of volunteer, ambassador, advocate, and internship opportunities in all of these organizations. So someone might have picked up a summer job. I know that some of the businesses that were there in the past, even just last year, got some internships organized and brought to life because of interactions with students and feedback from students at the event. So it really is like the most epic business and high school networking event. And that's really what it boils down to. And that's why we call it a career day, because we're not requiring any of the businesses that come to have open job positions necessarily. We want them to be able to have conversations about what it took for them to get where they are. So the opening presentation, we actually had 3 young women from Vineyard Offshore talk about how they got to where they are and their sort of path, because they're not, like, one's in social marketing, one is in workforce, so it's not necessarily you have to be an engineer or a captain or a helicopter pilot or whatever. You can be someone who's really good at office admin and still be involved in environmental and blue economy careers. So that's really the inspiration for it, is connecting all of those pieces and making sure that, as someone that's grown up on the Cape that's going to leave, we want you to come back, right? And that's really important, that you know that there's lots of options for you to come back to. It's really.
I agree. I got a lot of business cards that
day.
You just have your Rolodex already formed before you can go from afterwards. I must admit. So when you were there, did some things kind of like jump out at you, or you're like, maybe second thoughts, or at the very least you're like, oh, that is really cool. I didn't know about that. Can you give examples?
Yes, there was so many. I was really pleasantly surprised, because I've always liked science, but it's never been my thing as much as debating that kind of stuff. But I realized I talked to a few different organizations, and they were talking about how those two things can come together, and making those policies that have to do with the environment and stuff and things like that. And I thought that was really interesting. I think one of them was NOAA that organized, and they were talking about how those two things really do relate more than I thought they did. And I was really surprised at the amount, all the different kinds of organizations that were there, because I kind of went in thinking it's kind of probably going to be a few talking about environmental things, but there was boating, helicoptering, all that kind of stuff. So it was really pleasantly surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very interesting, because the blue economy is such a wide net. Forgive the metaphor or the pun.
Keep them going.
We keep it going. But that is, it just covers so much, from tourism to sciences, but also a lot of policy making. Recently, we've gotten a lot of initiatives from the Cape Cod Commission related to offering up draft policy for local towns to kind of use as model bylaws and stuff like that, especially related to things like housing. But also there's been stuff like wastewater, which will tie directly into the water quality of the Cape and Islands region. But just trying to kind of, have those example pieces to use. There's a lot of conversation and politics that go into it. So look forward to having you back in 10 years' time, 15 years' time to see what the changes are that you've brought with us.
We'll work on housing and childcare and all that stuff in the meantime so that we're ready for you when you're ready to come back.
I know the initiatives that we'll have to do.
Yeah.
But actually, maybe the older side of things, you and me. It is interesting to think about. We have a student who's going to be going away. What do we need to do to make them want to come back to the Cape and Islands region? Has that been something on your mind as of late?
Yeah, and I think that's where the relationship between the foundation and the Chamber of Commerce come in hand. The Chamber of Commerce is working with our businesses and our business members to tackle challenges like childcare and transportation. Like, I don't want to say the word bridges. Well, I'll say the word bridges. Housing.
You're safe here. It's okay.
Yeah. And infrastructure, public transportation, having a diverse types of housing available for people, whether that's seasonal or long-term rentals. So the Chamber has the capacity to work on those really, really important quality of life concerns. And the foundation has the space then to support young people in their exploration of those careers. Other initiatives include promoting industries at large. So one of the ways we do that, we have a conference in the spring. I'm going to segue into Big Blue. That's the name of our conference, the Big Blue Conference, and talking about, issues related to, coastal resilience and to how our growth in industries and which industries impact our environment and the space that we have on the Cape, because the Cape is special because of the geography and the wildlife to so many people. It's so important. Like, anyone that visits, they always love to tell you what beach they go to. It's like, when you compliment someone about their dress, like, oh, it has pockets, and you tell someone you're from Cape Cod, they're like, oh, I go to X beach. Like, oh, okay, great. Mm-hmm. So everyone has everyone recognizes the value of that space, the coastal space. And let's not forget all of our little cranberry bogs and our 800 ponds that we spend our summers at, right? So that tandem between the Chamber's initiatives and the Foundation's initiatives, I think, are, they sit well together. So,
yeah, there's a lot to discuss, and it certainly is that cultural aspect as well. At this point, to be wear a hat with your favorite beach on would probably be more efficient.
Locals do their exit numbers, their old exit numbers, right?
I figure
Always the old
might as well take the segue while we're here quickly. Round table, favorite beach, go. What's the?
That's a great question. I think Coast Guard Beach.
All right, I got to pick a new beach now because as an East Ham resident, I've had to.
And I live in Sandwich, so I'm appropriating, but I went to Nauset. So Coast Guard's always been a special place. It's where I got hypothermia for the first time. So, yeah.
A formative experience.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
My goodness.
Special place.
I went to Coast Guard and almost died. That's the way I want to introduce my favorite beach as well going forward.
It's one of those places that makes you want to explore beyond your capacity.
Nice.
So.
Yeah.
Favorite beach?
I'd say my favorite beach would be between Lighthouse and the Mayflower.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
There we go. Non-traditional responses. I like it.
I guess.
But back to business as well. So the blue economy, you guys are facing kind of like this three-pronged approach. Now we're radio, so anybody can be listening. But that is the point of my next question, I swear, is that we have students that are the younger generation who are trying to figure out what are they interested in? Do we need to get younger people interested in the state of the water? And then we also have their parents and the adults, the traditional residents of Cape Cod. And then we also have the businesses as well that could be listening. Now, it sounds like you're covering almost all those with these events, but with the Blue Economy, the conference upcoming as well, how do you tailor the different messages that you want to send out there for? What are you trying to get from local businesses who are maybe just trying to do their own thing, but now they're a part of the blue economy? Maybe they didn't think of themselves before like that, versus the younger generation, versus the parents and regular residents of Cape Cod.
Yeah, I think you take the verses out and just add plus signs, because I don't think there are many parents that aren't working at businesses that aren't part of the blue economy. All of our schools we're really, really fortunate on Cape Cod. We have a ton of incredible schools that teach a lot of different courses, whether it's how to fix an electric vehicle, or it's marine biology, or it's robotics. We've got some really cool stuff happening here. So I think just creating a platform like Waterworks to make sure that, Yoana, you and all of your peers understand that you're part of that already, and that there's more to grow into. But I bet if you asked your parents what they did, you asked your parents, Grady, what they did when you're growing up, that in some capacity, whether it's directly or indirectly, they're associated with business that is here because of the water. So that's the answer, right? We're all connected in that. The Cape's kind of a small town, so it's really hard for me to separate all of those pieces. There might be some businesses that don't see themselves as blue, certainly, but they serve blue businesses. So you might have an insurance company and like, well, you can do insurance this way with businesses anywhere, but how many of those businesses that a Cape-based insurance company are serving are reliant on the water? So you get that degree. We actually have a scale. We have dark blue.
Oh, okay.
Okay, which is, do you know these? Have we dug into this? Okay.
This is a surprise quiz for you.
This is a quiz. Dark blue. So if you think research, if you think marine technology, if you think Coast Guard, right? They're on the water. They're in the water. Are all of our fishermen? They don't do business without the water. Then you have medium blue. So that's where tourism comes in, right? Because you can run a luxury hotel, but you're going to do a lot better if you're on the water, right? All of our little main streets, our adorable, quaint, beautiful little main streets are in that medium blue because they're there because people are here for water, beachside weddings and things like that. And then the light blue, so they're insurance companies, they're the bus companies, they're all of our, infrastructure resources, our municipalities that are all working to support all of those medium and dark blue businesses.
I am noticing that I can't think of anything that wouldn't be encompassed by that spectrum for Cape Cod traditional businesses. I even wanted to say I guess an ice cream shop. No, but that would also be on a Main Street mom and pop sort of thing.
Yep.
So very interesting.
Yeah.
They had a lot of different ways to engage with everybody, not just like Hui building their submersibles and stuff, but also the various infrastructure surrounding the Hyannis Main Street Business Improvement District, what they cover as well.
Exactly.
So that is so interesting. But so as well, the engaging the youth. I mean, I definitely wanted to make that a main topic as well. How have there been conversations? Like, how do you change the way you kind of do you gear the messaging any different? Is it any different at all? But how do you reach out to people who are interested students? Or
how do we do that?
Get your hooks in.
How do we do that?
Waterworks.
Waterworks.
And I mean, it's always, as somebody who's a student on the Cape, it's always a conversation. Like, I am taking marine bio right now, so maybe it's especially something that we've been talking about. But it's especially at the conference. I was kind of surrounded by everybody had an interest that had to do with the blue economy. So I got to talk to some new people too and kind of see what they were interested in, what they were kind of looking for at this conference.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Get a taste of the college experience, having a concentration. You actually have the full everyone's full bore on the same thing essentially. Do you have other friends essentially that are also incorporated into the political sciences that you were interested in that kind of helped lead you down this path, or how has the conversation been from that standpoint? Or is it just going out of your own accord, or?
I don't know. I think it's just been my thing. I don't know if I've really had a friend that I've kind of referred to it with. It took a lot of research though to see what I wanted to do, and some debating and switching between the specificities. Is that a word?
It is now. You said it on radio.
Concentration.
Concentration.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You'll be speaking college lingo any minute. You're fine.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, of course, you're not locked in just because you're talking about it now. But it will be interesting to see kind of how your mind might change as you go forward and learn more about that subject. But as well, so with this in mind, do you think there could be more room for more events throughout the year?
Yeah, I think Waterworks has been so successful that we absolutely, I have to shout out to the STEM network at the community college because it's in part their creation as well, and they've put so much time and effort into it. But we have had some attention from other colleges, from other community colleges, and also, there are younger students to be reached, right? And so there's a lot of conversation now. I've been in this role for under 2 years, and so I spent the bulk of, second half of 22 into 23 really understanding and learning and figuring out the blue economy and what needed to happen to meet the mission. And now that we've got Waterworks done, I've done it twice myself. There's conversations about how do we adapt it to bring it to schools or to bring it to the wider public or to bring it to other places. And so I think we'll see more waterworks happening. It's a logistical nightmare, though. So if anyone's interested in volunteering and helping out with that goal, definitely be receptive to that. But I think it is impactful. Even with the snowy weather we had on Tuesday, everyone that got there had an awesome time as far as I can tell, or they're not telling me they had a bad time. And then the other way that I think the chamber and the Blue Economy stay in touch with and reach out to the schools is by having folks like Yoana come in and help at the office. We also have 2 Barnstable High School students, Kyle and Connor, how are you guys doing? Who were at our booth at Waterworks, trying to get Instagram followers. They were all over it. So, so I think giving space for young people to actually hands-on and have an impact on the work that I do is really important to me because I learn just as much every single day. I can't remember the captain on the stone that we found at the beach, but we're
Smith.
yeah. So like we're discovering stuff together all the time. There's mysteries to be solved. There's things to learn, and I think any person can understand this, that the younger you are, the more adaptable you are to technology too. And so it's really, really handy to be able to like just hand Yoana the keys to a website and she's like, fixed it. Okay, moving on. So, I would encourage, and this is just like a personal soapbox, any business that has the capacity to open up your doors to young people as interns or as employees and give them the space to actually do some work and do some creative exploration. Like Yoana's an incredible writer, and how often do you get a chance to like put your writing out there? And so I would encourage anyone that has that capacity to actually do that and to give space to young people, because then that's how we reach each other, right? It's bridging the generation gaps and whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Yoana, just want to throw it out there, capecod.com. We do accept op-eds. If you're ever interested in doing a little piece, I'll make sure we can work something out. But that is very interesting as well. So just to see if you're going to double down or not, do you think that the only way to make Cape Cod that more year-round, sustainable, friendly to the younger generation is to try and incorporate their voice more? Do we have to let them have that space to kind of run Cape Cod in the capacity even while they're still young?
I think that's true for everywhere, not just Cape Cod, right? And I think that one of the experiences, feedbacks that we get from the businesses at Waterworks is how impressed they are with the quality of questions and how prepared. Someone shows up in a suit, they're like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, like these kids got it going on. Like they understand what's going on. They understand the importance. And so I think for me, I think that's true for everywhere, honestly. And I think for Cape Cod in particular, with the way our housing situation has been going, we all know that there's a missing piece of young families because it's just so expensive and it's really tricky. Unless you have some kind of a tether or anchor or a foundation here, it's really hard to get started. And so I think we're at a place now where we don't all have to be focused just on Yoana's generation, but I can be, right? And I can be trying to create some space for that. And I think there are other people in certain industries, especially new industries like electric transportation and offshore wind, where these are new. There's a lot of space to discover and grow, and a lot of incredible opportunities on Cape Cod that, I think, 10 years from now is just about right for when we'll be able to open the doors up again and say, hey, look, this is a career path, right? Not just a job. So I'll triple down. Yeah.
I love it.
Meanwhile, we have so many incredible services for our senior community members, our working, age community members, our families. There's more room to be had in all of those, but I'm going to stick my flag in the next generation camp. So,
all right, that's awesome. So, looking forward to later this year. You already mentioned the Big Blue the conference, I believe.
Yes.
Hopefully, I'm getting the title
Big
right.
Blue, yes.
Big Blue. So, can you tell us a little bit more about that? Who is invited? What can people expect? Are we going to have another conversation in a few weeks' time about this? I'm sure, but just as a teaser now, do you mind telling our listeners more about that?
Certainly. So, the Big Blue conference started last year in the spring. We had a 2-day conference about economic development on the Cape and blue economy, and we held it at Mass Maritime. This year coming up, April 30th and May 1st, we'll be at Aloft Aviation, which is where Cape Air was born. It's at Gateway Airport. It's a big metal box, so we're going to make a conference happen inside of it. And the reason we're doing it there is because we're going to focus on our first day on electrification. And so the airport, this is a little preview, are building a microgrid. And that, the word micro, and there's a little deceiving. It's a big project. It involves organizations from the state and Eversource and some offshore wind. It's a lot of pieces going into it so that the airport can actually function on its own power sources, which is pretty cool. We also have electric buses, electric cars, electric airplanes. Hello. That's so cool. So we'll have, I think, 3 different airlines there that have electric commercial airplanes. So it's going to be really exciting sort of looking forward. And then the second day, we're going to talk about the hard truth of coastal impacts from our environment, coastal resilience, and how do we prepare ourselves for continuing climate change in contrast to, the bright future and sort of like the immediate need for the current situation we're in. So it'll be an inclusive, absolutely everyone's welcome to come to the conference. I think it's going to appeal to people who are in certain industries already or who want to be involved in certain industries. And I think it should be attended by anyone who's in a position of decision making, any of our community leaders, because they're folks that, one, need to know what's going on so they can get a deeper look into some things that are going on, but also that they get to meet the kind of people that can help educate them and their constituents on certain things. So, and well, it's fun. It's called Big Blue. It's called Big Blue, right?
Yeah.
And so, a couple of folks that I know will be there. We'll hear from the airport, and we'll hear from Cape Air. We'll hear from New England Aquarium. So some overlap from the folks that Yoana got to interact with at Waterworks. So that's sort of serving the sort of working generation, right? The folks that are already in the business. And don't ask me what we're doing in the fall because I don't know yet. Can only see 5
I'll
months into the
scratch
future.
that question off my list.
But I think Big Blue's going to be really fun, really insightful. It's a great way to meet lots of people. And then we're working on updating our websites, and that's some of the work that Yoana's been doing, which, has been, it's not glamorous.
All right,
It needs
Yoana.
to be done.
What
It's
is the deep
necessary.
secrets that you've been learning about
Yeah.
the web development side? Is it a nightmare of programming, or is it a little bit easier nowadays with like WordPress or Squarespace? Or?
I don't know, easier because I've never been using these programs, but it's been an interesting experience, and it's something I've never really done.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels good to see we were looking at the before and after of filling that website out and kind of seeing how I'm helping make this finished product that kind of people are going to use.
Sure.
Yeah.
As well as a member of the youth, quote unquote. How important? I mean, it's super important to have a website nowadays, right? I mean, are you looking with your younger lens, being okay, this is not going to work. We have to change this. This button needs to do this. We need to have this concept or whatever. Were there some kind of key checkoff things where I need to have these 3 things, or else this website I'm never going to visit personally, and no one else would either. What is your list essentially as you go through the redevelopment?
Well, I have a list of grievances.
And we're gonna go over all of them right now.
It's literally a file called grievances.
It's a long list.
It's a long list.
Amazing.
That's how I live my life as well. I just have grievances and then the 3
And
things.
affirmations.
Grievances and affirmations. Yeah. I need to completely redesign how I do the newsroom as well as what I'm gathering here. What is the top grievance?
The top grievance, I mean, I'd always when you go into a website, it feels like it's more secure and official if it just looks that way, looks clean, modern, put together, over if it's a little too colorful, a little too outdated, it's kind of you don't trust, the organization as much just from what their website looks like. So it's really important, color scheme, the way it's organized, accessibility is a big thing. The website right now, you have to click this button, this button, this button, so many different and not a lot of people are going to want to put that effort in to be more. So, it's
how
better
many
to just...
clicks before you've lost your viewer essentially.
Yeah.
Very
So it's just better to like, have it laid out and, not too many steps. You just want to see it right there.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah. And what's an affirmation? What is that? Is that something else more from the what we're doing well, or is that something of like a goal to reach? What is the
affirmations? Well, of the website, it's just aesthetic things. Like I like the way like. Let me think of an affirmation here.
It's a lot harder to think of the affirmations. But
I mean, that's what we're always talking about, right?
Yeah.
So easy to come up with criticisms, but then we also need to be positive every now and then.
But we'll be working on renovating. So we actually have 2 websites, and we'll be renovating both of them over the next few months so that we can get rid of some of those grievances and re-enhance and emphasize some of those affirmations.
Make them affirmations.
Yes. That's good to know. Yeah. So from a functional standpoint as well, for people who have been listening, they are interested in checking more out about you guys, and they want to, because it's a perfectly fine working website now, is what I'm gathering. But where can people go to learn more if they want to get involved? You mentioned volunteering before. What opportunities are there for people interested?
So the website is bluecapecod.org. And then the second one, the one that Yoana's been working on the most, is expeditionblue.org. And that is we have wayfinding structures, 15 different places across the Cape and Islands, I think, something like that. And so there's, bluecapecod.org and expeditionblue.org, with a mind that it will be renovated over the next few months. Volunteer, absolutely. Reach out to me. My email's all over those websites. Waterworks is a lot of moving parts, a lot of logistics, everything from greeting buses to delivering box lunches to all of our exhibitors, and helping me not freak out because it's snowing out during the events. Like I really just need someone wants to just like pat me on the shoulder every once in a while during events. That'd be great. And the same for Big Blue. If someone's really interested in participating in some way, absolutely just reach out to me. We'll have opportunities for some exhibitor booths and things like that. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I want to apologize on behalf of the Sky, because apparently I'd heard that you were going to be doing something based around blue.
Water.
And took it as a challenge. Yeah, I can't believe that. But congratulations. I'm glad it worked out for you guys.
Thank you.
But we'll also, in the description for this segment up on CapeCod.com, we will also have the link out to those websites there as well for people who are interested. It'll just be hyperlinked in as part of the description. I'm afraid we're about coming up on time now, but before we wrap up, is there anything else that you want to add about things that that you're excited about? Just looking forward, you can be a little self-congratulating with the Northeastern as well, but it doesn't just have to be the water specific related, but things that you're looking forward to that you've learned over the past year. If you want to connect them in with your time as well interning, that would be great. But just how has it been for you, and what's looking forward to you in 2024?
How's it been? Well, in marine science, I've been kind of like able to, in regards to like the Cape Cod environment, I did a whole journal article type thing about like the sewer like leakage into the nitrogen into the ocean. So that's something I've been increasingly interested on. What I'm looking forward to is Northeastern and college and co-ops especially that thank you, that will let me learn more about policy making and hopefully get to integrate my interest in the environment.
That is awesome. And congratulations again. We wish you the best, and hope that it's going to be very a worthwhile experience for you. As well for Blue Economy as well, what's up for 2024? Any last comments that you wanted to add before we wrap up this conversation?
I mean, I think I've done a lot of work behind the scenes. We're going to start to see that come to the surface, right? And keep on with the water puns. But the website is going to be a pretty clear sort of upgrade as far as articulating the work that we're doing and the action that we're doing. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most, is actualizing all of the work that I've been doing into something that other people can experience. So
I agree.
Awesome. I've got an affirmation.
Add to the list, one less grievance, one more affirmation. We'll all choose to live that way in 2024. Less grievances, more affirmations.
Yeah.
So thank you both again for joining me for this conversation. It has been a pleasure and great talking with you both.
Yeah, thank you so much, Grady.
I'm Grady Collane, and this has been Sunday Journal.